Around the world and across the shards, this is the Cavern Today, a Cavern Communications production and Uru fan presentation. I am Ruby Odegi. Today we bring you a special interview directed by Super Graham and Miles and conducted by our surface reporter Moog with signist Rand Miller. Now to our program.
Hello again. This is Moog for the Cavern Today. We'd like to welcome all of our listeners to this very special edition of our program. Today we're honored to welcome Rand Miller as our guest. Most of you will recognize Rand as Atris from the Myst games. For old-timers like me, we first encountered him as one of the voices from the Manhole and Cosmic Osmo and Spelunks. In real life, he's the co-founder and CEO of Cyan Worlds, and one of the brilliant creative minds that have taken us to so many intriguing new worlds. Rand, welcome to the Cavern Today.
Hey, Maug, good to be here.
Well, it's great to have you.
Always enjoy being in the cavern, any day.
Well, I think a lot of us do, which is what brings us together, coincidentally. This interview comes at a rather significant time for the Myst community, since it was almost exactly 2 years ago that Uru Live was shut down. Your brother Ryan has already told us something about what Cyan had hoped to achieve with Uru Live. But even without Live, as it was originally envisioned, it seems that the enthusiasm of Uru fans is stronger today than it's ever been. Until Uru has become that proverbial tree fort that we love so much as kids, it's like a place where we can go with our friends and socialize and be anything we want to be. Well, for those of us in the Cavern players, UU has even become a stage where we can create and act out stories of our own. So I'd like to ask you about Cyan's motivation for Until Uru, and how closely have you and Cyan in general followed what has been happening in UU?
Oh boy, I think our motivation primarily was just trying to not let what had become our baby just fade off into oblivion. We had put so much time and effort into Uru. It was all we had worked for in making Myst into something that would be ongoing. You know, the story and the places and the people would keep going and be a much more live experience. And when, with the unfortunate cancellation, I think we were taken aback and started thinking of ways that we might be able to just kind of keep things going. And of course, Until Uru was kind of our effort to put more of it into the user's hands, because at that point we couldn't do anything more for it.
Understood.
So we followed it from the beginning without being able to add much to it or contribute much to it, but watched almost graciously as the fans kept it going and kept the life in the cavern, which was what we had hoped would ensue. So we've been very pleased with what's going on.
Well, it's certainly been exciting. Ryan and Grey Dragon both told us how impressed they were to see the user developed ages and things like that come online, and just everybody getting into it so deeply. Well, let's go back into history for just a minute. I've mentioned in previous interviews I've been a fan of Cyan's creations since the original Manhole first appeared for the Mac on floppies. Ryan has told us what it was like in the early days when Cyan was a tiny little startup following a vision. Your collaboration with Robin was obviously very close then, and your skills seemed to mesh in a really amazing way. Before the Manhole, were there any previous projects that you and Robin did together? And basically, what kind of stuff did you guys do in your tree fort?
I think, Robin was always, I was always the computer guy, and Robin was always the art music guy. And even when, I got my first computer, we were enamored with what we could create with it. It wasn't anywhere near even the Manhole kind of quality stuff, but it was still amazing to see what you could come up with. And prior to that, we had done, we had played games and loved exploring places, like I guess most kids like doing. And I had a brother who played some D&D. I guess from my point of view, it was much more fun making worlds and then letting people explore them than it was ever kind of playing the D&D stuff. I remember making worlds on paper and pencil and then having people go through them, wander through and try to solve puzzles in an old, boy, when I was just out of college. That's very reminiscent to what we ended up doing in Manhole and Osmo and Spelunks and even Myst.
Yeah. Well, our son learned to use a computer at about 2 years old with Osmo, and we still remember it very fondly. And I promised him a copy of this interview.
It was fun because with the Mac came out with the mouse about the time my daughter was in her twos, and I thought, oh, she won't be able to do anything with it. It's too much eye-hand coordination, and I put her in front of it and watched in amazement as she started clicking on things, thinking, oh my goodness, I never give kids enough credit.
Well, not only was our son the same way, I work as the building computer tech at an elementary school, and I work with kindergartners and first graders as they encounter computers for the first time for the most part. And it's amazing just how intuitive the use of the mouse is. And for the Macintosh to take advantage of that, to capitalize on it, and for HyperCard to come along to really expand your horizons as to what you could do with such an interface.
Right. It opened up the interface and the potential to just the average person. I mean, Robin and I weren't geniuses, but here we had a tool that we could create worlds with, and then that's what we started doing.
Yeah. Well, I must admit to our listeners that it's time for a bit of a confession here. All of the preceding was actually a preamble to my next question. And let me frame this by mentioning the recent awakening of the DRC forum. A lot of us are aware of that, and the new postings that have appeared there. Coupled with past reports of a mysterious project called Lattice, we've had no shortage of grist for the rumor mill. And then we read your message on the Cyan forum last night concerning the new Damala shard. Rand, what's in the works? Is it really true that the ending has not yet been written?
I don't think I'm ever going to get a chance to utter the words that the ending has been written, because it just seems to...
We're hoping you don't, actually.
Things just seem to keep on going, which is, fine with us. We had some really close calls in the last year, so it's nice to actually be able to talk about the ending not being written yet. I mean, there are no guarantees, and we don't know what's happening, but I'm excited and that we can do this interview today, which is, after announcing that we've kind of got a little more official version of Until Uru running, which to us is, it's a small step, but it's a step. And
it's on a real live Cyan shard too.
It's on a real live shard that has got some beef to it and has got some bandwidth to it, and it's a place where frankly people can explore without having to necessarily wonder, where they might want to go or wonder where they can meet their friends. Having someplace a little more official is a great step. And of course, we would like, obviously, with the Uru thing to move into to take much larger steps than that. But our future at this point is in other people's hands, and hopefully that'll all work out. The time will tell, and hopefully it'll be pretty quick. We'll know where we're going with that. As for the Lattice, the Lattice stuff you mentioned, we always have. We play with stuff that's unique. We have ideas for very unique forms of entertainment, and Lattice falls into that category. And a lot of times, I think that's maybe what got us going on Manhole or even Myst, is we kind of look at things a little bit differently, maybe. And Lattice was our attempt, our first attempt at a kind of a new form of interactive entertainment. And we still have some backroom development going on in that form. It may not be Lattice per se, but it's that same kind of very unique kind of entertainment that maybe opens up a new door for us. If at this point we're trying to do two things. Frankly, we want to try and do everything we can to keep Uru alive and well and growing, if that can happen. At the same time, we want to think forward looking and see if there's other directions we could go as well.
Sure, yeah. Well, with that in mind, are you at liberty to tell us who is actually partnering with Cyan Worlds in this revival? Because that was one of the news stories that we kind of followed from afar for quite a while there.
Yeah, I can tell you that it's... sorry, no, I can't.
Okay.
No, at this point, the third party is at least officially nameless, and I think it's probably better that way. It's not a big deal to us, and I think some of it has to do with just lots of legal stuff that it's better if it's officially nameless, that people don't have to worry about. So we'd like nothing better than to reveal it and have things settled and have a nice have great announcements to make. But maybe that'll come in the near future.
Well, sure, good. Will the existing Until Uru shards play into these plans, and will there be a place for the user-developed ages? And if not, will they be allowed to continue outside the official Uru?
Yeah, I think our plans for Until Uru, we named it Until Uru because in our minds it was just that. There's some little dunny side notes in there as well. But
I remember that, yeah.
Basically, our idea was, excuse me, if we can't do Uru, we've got to do something to keep this alive. Now, in our minds, if we bring back Uru, then the Until Uru is not as important to us because we're going to be putting everything we've got into a live version if we can get there. But that doesn't mean that it's not important to other people. We just want to figure out what parts of it are important and make sure that we're not stepping on anybody's toes or trying to crush the creative things that people have done. I think what the most important angle to us is can we get everybody who feels strongly about keeping Uru going and channel those energies into something that benefits the most possible people and makes people feel like they're part of something bigger. And I think everyone would agree, whether you don't want to lose your work or your shards or your ages for Until Uru, but if you can contribute to something that is more longer term and has the potential for more people to see and benefit from, that's even better. So I would anticipate we're not going to do anything heavy-handed. That's not usually how we work. Some of this may be out of our control, depending on which third-party partner we team with. They may have other ideas, but we certainly don't want to do anything that would that insult anybody who's basically kept things alive up to this point. As for user-created ages, we haven't said much on that, but I've got to tell you that's one thing that at least inside workings here at Cyan we're very excited about, and we have some plans to move that way as quickly as we can, and there are formal ways.
I remember you mentioning this before. Yeah, the user tools for construction of ages or something like that.
Right, and that's exciting to us. In the end, that's how we see things going. We want people to become writers, essentially. That's what this is about. If they're so inclined. People like different things, but if people are jazzed and motivated by actually becoming dunny writers and reviving that art and making their own worlds, well, we want to do what we can to help fuel that a bit.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, I hesitate to ask this, but it will certainly be on the minds of many of us in the community as we move into this new phase of Uru. Will this new shard serve as a test bed for further development that will minimize the lags, crashes, the slow age loads that were so prevalent during Prologue and Until Uru? I asked because I spent about a half an hour on the new shard yesterday night, and the lag was still pretty pronounced with only 18 explorers in the cavern. Is this just the first step toward actually working those problems out?
Yeah, great question. I think the short answer is no. Until Uru is going to stay as Until Uru, and our development efforts are not on moving forward with Until Uru. You can take that two ways. You can take that we're not doing anything, or you can take it as that we're not doing anything on Until Uru. You probably should take it as the latter. Just because we're not working with this particular shard as a test bed doesn't mean that we aren't working really hard on fixing things that we wish we would have had a chance to fix long ago.
Sure.
Hopefully.
Well, I guess my next question follows on to that: is will we see any visual changes in this version of Until Uru, just for refreshing, a change in the scenery or whatever?
Yeah, I wish I could say yes. That was one of the things that's the hardest for us, because Uru was always meant to be supported by content. The hardest part in all this is putting up essentially the same content that we've all grown used to.
Sure.
And so the answer once again is no. We're not trying to change the scenery in Until Uru. This is just a step to kind of bring the community together. But it doesn't mean that our plans doesn't mean that we aren't already working on new content or hoping to get a chance to release some new content. It's just that we don't want Until Uru to be, we want it to be what it is, which is a way to kind of just keep things going until we can have something that's more official and can be back more in line with what we wanted Uru Live to be. Yeah.
Well, it's wonderful news, and that is really all I had for questions. Do you have anything that you'd like to just expound on for a few minutes?
No, I think the hardest part of all this is setting expectations, because from our point of view here at Cyan, I mean, we've been so quiet and we're working on things and we've got lots of possibilities, but not a lot firm. And we're hoping that this is, we're hoping, I guess, as much as anybody, that this turns into something that's exciting and new and Uru Live. But we're trying to also, keep control over those emotions, because we know that, frankly, there's nothing firm right now. We're encouraged, but there's nothing firm. And I think, using those same words that we keep using here is good for everybody, which is cautious optimism. So,
exactly.
take what we've got with Uru, with a small step with Until Uru, and we all hope for the best. And believe me, I'm as excited as anybody about taking some bigger steps once we get the chance.
Yeah, well, wonderful. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you. And now we have to digest all this great news somehow.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thanks for the chance to talk.
Sure.
I'll leave it at that, and I'm sure I'll see you, Moog, as well as a lot of other people down in the caverns these days.
We'll be looking for you.
Yeah, great. I'll
just look for the crowd, and you'll be at the center, I guess.
I link out when it gets too crowded.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully we can meet again on the air later. It's been a treat. I'd like to also add a special thank you to Eric L. of Tapestry for providing us the server space for this interview, to Chip for keeping the authentication servers alive for all these months, and to Cyan Worlds as well for going so far above and beyond the call and support of their fans. For the Cavern Today, this is Moog signing off.
Thank you for listening to this special program brought to you by the Cavern Today from Cavern Communications Network and Uru Fan Presentation. For more information about our program or how to get our regularly scheduled podcast, please go to www.thecaverntoday.com. Music courtesy LCC from the Huru Project Shard. Post-production by Steve Crocs and Ruby Odegi. Promotion by SJ. This is Ruby Odegi. Shora Bashem.